Okay, let's call this meeting to order. Can I get a declaration of quorum, please?
Here.
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 Thank you, ma'am. This time I'd like to have everybody stand and please call Glenn Peck to give her the invocation.
Your Honor, before I pray, I wish to remind all assembled here that in the Bible there is a 400-year gap between Malachi and Matthew. Had God gone on vacation? Was he no longer able to talk to man? During that 400 years, it was broken and interrupted by the cry of a little baby. Dear Father in heaven, as we approach this season, we are reminded that little baby was crying. And Father, we are crying for help. Ever since the garden, Father, we have messed things up. And thank you, Lord, for being the unmesser, that you come in our time of need, and that, Father, that you are above all. And Lord, it is my honor tonight to ask your blessing upon the mayor and his commission and all assembled here and all of our fine citizens in Shawnee. Father, we sure do need you now. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Join me in the flag salute. Position, salute, pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Start out tonight with citizen participation. And we'll call John Bob Semple, please.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. My favorite tradition growing up is that when something is worthy of honor, you say so. There are a few things that I want to share honor with, especially during the Christmas season. A few months ago, we had Fall Festival. It was a special day. The city absolutely crushed it. The investments we've made in that park set us apart. People will come in far and wide to come and experience it. That is a built environment when that's worthy of honor. The Winter Wonderland, despite the many challenges and the discussion around it, it's been wonderful to watch young families come and find downtown to be a place that's exciting and special. That's worthy of honor. Friday night, we had a Christmas parade. Nobody was hit. Nobody went to the hospital. There were families that couldn't afford many of the special things that came. There were people who experienced homelessness that got to watch the parade. I got to give a ride to one particular gentleman, and he told me how excited he was about the parade. There were kids that I've seen at some of our events at Pogo, and they talked about how much they loved being downtown and how much they loved candy, though that's not necessarily something we talk a lot about at Pogo. All I would say is that it's worthy of honor. At Christmas time, we should celebrate all that we have and the struggles of the things we don't. My tradition also says to speak the truth in love. There's a lot of great challenges for us to tackle. Challenges like the walkout that we experienced a few weeks ago, where a young man who's on the swim team at the high school was trying to walk to the YMCA where he practices. And watching him play a game of chicken and then playing that game of Frogger right after him at Kickapoo Spur says that we got to speak the truth in love as well. So these are things worthy of honor and truths that we all have to embrace. And I want to thank the Commission for all their work to address these things and more. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Okay, on to item number 2, consider approval of the consent agenda. Can I get a motion?
Move to approve.
I'll second.
A motion and a second. Motion carries 6-0. On to item number 3, presentation of the Pet of the Month by Animal Control. There he comes.
Hello, everybody. Officer Myers of Shawnee Animal Welfare. This is Lisa, who's a 7 to 8 month old lab female. She came into our care on, I believe, the 9th. I wrote it down so I can remember. She came in on the 9th. She entered due to her just running the streets and being loose. She was vaccinated and spayed on the 11th, and her Christmas wish is to find her forever home. She also has 2 sisters that are down there at the animal shelter. She has Sally, which is short for salad, and Casserole, which is short for, or Cassie, which is short for casserole. They're all up for adoption. They'd love to find their home. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I think Rob has dog treats in there.
Yeah.
Item number 4, presentation of fiscal year 2023-2024 annual comprehensive financial report and single audit report. Calling Kinsey Duarte from Arledge and Associates for presentation.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. If my wife was here, she would make me take the dog home with me.
Oh, yeah.
Good for her.
My name is Kinsey Duarte. I'm a CPA and partner at Arledge. And first, I want to thank you for the opportunity to present the results of the financial statements audit for the year end June 30, 2024. On the report of the audit, page 5 of that report, it's where our opinion is presented. And the financial statements were completed based on US GAAP by the city and the consultants, with the assistance of the consultants. Our audit was conducted under the auditing standards generally accepted in the United States of America, as well as the government auditing standards. Under those standards, we are required to be independent of the city, as well as to meet our ethical responsibilities. And those responsibilities are on page 6, paragraph that has about 5 bullet points. It goes through all the responsibilities that as auditors we're responsible to meet, and I'm glad to announce that we were able to do so for this year's audit. For our report this year, there's 2 instances that it's different from the previous years. Those relate specifically to component units, both of them. Component units are, the city are the ones who go through the decision of what component units needs to be included in the city's report as the primary government. And there's a checklist by our standards that goes through to be able to make the decision, right? And those includes whether the city is a beneficiary or who's the beneficiary if it's a trust, as well as the approval of significant transactions. And for this year, there's 2 instances of component units. One is a component unit that was included, that was not included in previous years. And another instance is of a component unit that has been included in the past that is not on this year's financial statements. And we go a little bit on details about that here in a second, but we also make reference to one of those component units that was not included in the past that is included now is the OVU authority. That was determined by the city to needed to be required and included on the financial statements that we make. Those were not audited by us. Those were audited by different auditors, so we make reference to that in our opinion, that those balances were audited by a different firm. We also have in this year's financial statement a adverse opinion. That is a modification to the opinion, and that is related specifically to the aggregate discretely presented component units. And we have unmodified opinions for the remaining opinion units. The adverse is related to one of those component units related to SCCDA, the Shawnee Civic and Cultural Development Authority, which has been included in the past. And this year is not part of the financial statements due to not having audited numbers for that component unit. On page 6, which is at the very top, the very first paragraph, the emphasis of matter. We do make reference to OBU authority, which is now being included as a component unit of the financial statements of the city, and a prior adjustment, period adjustment that was made in order for the beginning balance to be included for this year's report. Since that component unit was not included in the previous years and now it's been included in the current year, we have to make a prior period year adjustment for it. Continue on to page 9 of the report. Page 9 is where the management discussion and analysis starts. And it's great to go through that section. That is completed by management. We do limited procedures over that to make sure that it ties to the financial statements. But that includes financial highlights, changes from prior year to current year as far as the position for the year. First, as the first bullet point that mentions an 18% increase on the net position from year 2023 to 2024. It is a section of the management discussion analysis, a section that includes and provides and helps to answer financial questions while you're going through a report. Right, it's completed by management and it helps instead of going through the 87 pages that you can start there and get answers to some of the questions prior to going to the remaining of the report. Page 9 of that 17 of that section, it also includes economic factors and next year's budget and rates. So in this case, it will be for the fiscal year ending June 2025. That includes additional information for next year's report. If we scroll down all the way to page 59 of the report, I always like to go over the subsequent events. So essentially, were there any transactions that were significant enough that needed to be part of the report and included for the users for the financial statements? And that means any transactions that occur after June 30, 2024 in this instance, all the way through when the financial statements are available to be issued.
Excuse me, folks.
And the item that we included in the report this year is a note from the OBU authority and the issuance of that happening in May of this year. You should also have a packet of related to the single audit, and that is a separate packet that was it's physical, or I think it's uploaded as well. And on the single audit, essentially is our audit procedures over the federal expenditures, so expenditures related to federal grants. And those, our audit procedures other than those is following the uniform guidance, so a different set of standards, right? Where we test internal controls as well as compliance for those expenditures related to federal grants. That report includes the schedule of expenditures of federal awards, and on page 7 of that report is the total of all federal expenditures related to the year end June 30, 2024. Page 9 of that report, it's the summary of all audit results, so essentially the summary of results of the audit of the financial statements audit as well as the single audit, which is related to the federal expenditures. And there we can see the adverse opinion and the modified opinions. Adverse, again, for the omission of the SECDA balances and numbers in the report, and then the modified opinions to the remaining of results of the financial statements. We do show two instances related to the financial statements and one related to the compliance and federal issuance as well. We'll go over that here in a second, but the three major programs that were determined and audited of the federal expenditures for this year were the ARPA funding, the assistance listing number 21.027, the capitalization grants for clean water state revolving funds, and the disaster grants for public assistance. So there's three major programs that were tested this year for the federal expenditures grants. Right? Page 10 of that report, it includes the schedule of findings and question costs. So item 1, it relates to, again, the omission of SCCDA balances in the report. Item 2, which is finding number 2024-002, is related to the prior period adjustment that had to be completed in order to include the OBU authority numbers into this current year financial statements. And the third item is just the timing of filing with the state as well as the federal clearinghouse. Since there is a single audit, that also needs to be included, uploaded to the federal clearinghouse. And then that item is just a repeat from prior year, right? We have that this year as well. Before I open it up for any questions or comments, we also included the required letter for management and those that are charged with governance. In that letter, what it does is a summary again. It goes over whether the management significant estimates included in the report, as well as if there were any disagreements with management related to the audit matters or any auditing, accounting or reporting, which we did not encounter any issues or disagreements with management for this year's audit. It also goes over the use of consultants in assisting with the reporting, getting all the information provided to us. And I would like to say that, to thank Mark and Kim for going through the audit with us, trying being able to provide all the information. We really appreciated their time. We know we are thorough with the requests and all the information that we ask, but we look forward to getting started for next year's audit as well. So with that, any questions or comments with the report?
I have one. I think you and I have chatted about it before.
Sure.
As it relates to finding 001 with the CU. I guess my concern or problem with it is the city has no ability to rectify it. I know you gave your recommendation. The city has those procedures in which we've asked the SCCDA to supply them, and when they simply don't or say no, we have no legal authority to compel them, which means that I'd love your explanation of how the city can correct. We have no ability to correct it.
Yeah, I think on that end, and that's why there's an adverse opinion, right, for that specific for the component units, which in part includes the SCCDA balances, both being since it should be part of the primary government and included as a city financial statement, that's why we need to provide an adverse there. In order to move forward, I think being that there's an adverse opinion for that and not, it doesn't modify any other opinions, right? If you're able to contain and still have the unmodified opinions for the remaining of the opinion units. Whenever, and it's not unlikely, whenever cities or primary governments are not able to obtain audited numbers from one of their component units, then that has to be excluded, essentially, right? And the omission of it, required us to include an adverse opinion for it. So I don't know that that's an answer to your question, right? I think
I may just have a little
efforts
slightly different view.
right.
Because it's not, to me, it's not strictly, I guess maybe I'm sticking up for our staff a little bit. It's not a material weakness on the part of the city or our staff. It's this related entity won't cooperate. And the city can't do anything about it. So,
Being significant to the primary government, the city in this instance, then that's why we need to include as a finding and a.
sure, no, I understand. I'm just,
Right.
typically you can cure it, and we don't have the ability in and of ourselves to cure it.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Kenzie? It's a lot of numbers in there.
It is.
Very small.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We're good to go. Appreciate it.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Thank you. Merry Christmas. Okay. On to item number 5, the Shawnee Ford presentation. Calling Crystal Romanation from Shawnee Ford.
Thank thank you all for the opportunity to share some of the exciting things happening at Shawnee Forward. I'd like to thank you for your ongoing support and collaboration. Economic development is a team sport, and everyone at every level of a community, from the local government down to each resident, has a role. And the City of Shawnee's role is appreciated and certainly acknowledged. I wanted to focus tonight's update in 3 areas. The first, economic development, so you can hear what's in progress, some of the projects we're talking about and have been for, in some cases, a long time. I'd also like to share the retail recruitment strategy, including some data that we use and how we're positioning Shawnee to maximize our potential for retail recruitment. And I'd like to also share some of the highlights that Shawnee Forward has had in the past year. And I'll start with economic development pipeline. Currently, we have 9 projects in the pipeline at various stages of the conversation. Those 9 active projects represent nearly 700 potential jobs for our community, with an average wage of $87,000 and a total capital investment that exceeds far above $550 million. This pipeline reflects conversations that are happening in various stages. Some is fresh as a month, and some well over a year, ongoing conversations that we're having. And I think what's important to note that while not each of these or all of these projects may land in our backyard, but they do represent the scale of opportunity that Shawnee is being considered for. There's a project mix, there's manufacturing, there's also aviation, where we can maximize our relationship with Tinker Air Force Base. And then we have retail-related activity as well. It's important also to note where our lead sources are coming from to understand our efforts in partnership building in our community. Many of our leads are coming from the relationships that we have, not just with the Department of Commerce, but also with the Oklahoma City regional partnerships. Some of these are coming from site consultants directly that we have ongoing partnerships throughout the year with, as well as some of the recruitment efforts that are made by our retail recruitment firm, the Retail Coach. And in some cases, even the brokers that we have relationships with, commercial brokers, are bringing us projects directly for their properties that they represent. I think Shawnee is benefiting from the regional collaboration in some really large ways, as well as the relationships that we have built ongoing with site consultants. These leads are coming from proactive relationship building and not just simply responding to an RFI that is posted on a dashboard. I wanted to kind of emphasize that the projects can take months and sometimes years to materialize, so that ongoing conversation that we're having, keeping that pipeline active and moving forward, is important. Some of the projects may pause from time to time. They could change scope depending on different things that are happening politically or financially. And some may end up selecting other communities. But I go back to the fact that we have a very active pipeline right now, as well as a diversified one, which is healthy for a community should some of those projects choose another community, for us to understand why that is. Second, I'd like to share some of the retail recruitment efforts that we're making right now. Those are important, of course, for Oklahoma cities in particular because of sales tax generation. But more importantly, our perspective for economic development is that retail not just helps with sales tax for our cities, but it also improves the quality of life in our community for its residents. It helps with workforce retention, it helps with workforce attraction, and sometimes can be a deciding factor for employers as well as the employees and residents on why they live in a community. We're using a lot of data right now to have the conversations about why Shawnee is an ideal location for retail. This is important because of a community of 33,000 people, when we take a look at our retail trade market and where the shoppers in Shawnee come from, that population number goes up to 150,000. So that changes the game for a lot of retail recruitment that wouldn't generally look at a 33,000 person community as an ideal location for their business. So we're using that data to start the conversations with many retailers. We also, by using the data, we can improve some of our household income numbers, which also makes us more attractive, and that's important to position us in the Oklahoma City region particularly. We are a strong regional pull by using some of the data and where the leakage occurs, meaning where are people going to shop outside our community rather than shopping here because of the lack of options. So we're using those gap analysis reports to find those retailers that would be most attractive for our community to keep those dollars here. And what we have seen is big box retail, grocery in particular, as well as home improvement, are all areas that we can improve. Some of the other areas include health and wellness and home accessories. So those are all ideal targets for our community. And then the active retail conversations, while a couple are represented on the pipeline report, there are some others that are ongoing. There have been retailers identified as us being within their growth plan or our area, and we're on their map now that we're talking with them. It's uncertain how far along in that process we are. Oftentimes what you see is in communities, you'll see one big retailer that then others will flock to because they know that that business model, if you're located near a certain retailer, you'll find success. So we're anticipating some of that happening in our high retail area as well. So retail recruitment, one of the important things to point out is it's very, very competitive. And Shawnee is really entering a great position as a retail hub for recruitment. We have stronger data, we're positioning ourselves very well and clearly, and with the help of our retail recruitment firm, we are following up in ways that we haven't previously. And we're looking forward to a healthy year for retail in 2026. And finally, I'd like to share some of the highlights that Shawnee Forward has experienced in 2025. You do have some of the numbers in front of you of some of those things. And unfortunately, in economic development, one of the things we always want to get new investment in our community. We want to support our current businesses, both in retaining them here and helping them expand when they're needed. But one of the important jobs that we also have is when a business decides to leave our community, to help keep that workforce in the community. And that happened a couple of months ago on September 26th when Jindal Films issued the WARN Act to its employees and notified them that they would be closing on November 26th. Shawnee Forward stepped in at that point and played a lead role in coordinating both the workforce and the reemployment efforts of those employees at Jindal Films. We worked with state and regional partners, we worked with our employers locally, and we also worked with our workforce agencies to keep as many of those workers here within our community. We were happy to report, as of their closing, the last report I was able to access from them, that 80% of those employees had already been reemployed or were taking advantages of training grants that would allow them the ability to upskill and get employed in other areas in our community. And now what we're left with, though, is a big building, a very large building. But I am happy to report we were able to connect with the broker for that building, and we've actually submitted that for a project already in the last few weeks. So we are going to actively be trying to find someone else to occupy the building and employ folks in our community. Shawnee Forward was also proud to offer a few grants this year to some of our local businesses. We had a facade improvement grant, which gave people who were still struggling from tornado recovery the ability to reinvest in their facade and improve the aesthetic of our community. We also were able to secure a child care grant that has helped dozens of families get reimbursed for some of the child care expenses that they've had in this past year. And by doing that, we were able to support our employers, who then could retain employees, use it as a recruitment tool, and help morale, productivity, lessen absenteeism, and improve productivity within their organizations. We also were proudly part of the Home Depot discussion, which was about 18 months in the working, so a good example of economic development being kind of that marathon run. But for 18 months, we helped facilitate those discussions and are welcoming them to our community at some point soon. There are some other numbers that I shared with you about some of the day-to-day operations and other ways we're supporting our local businesses. We did step out and celebrate National Manufacturing Week in October, and it's really interesting that even though that Jindal closing was something that saddened the community, I was happy to report that in all of our manufacturing visits, they reported growth in the coming year. And so I think that's where we had such great success reemploying those, because our other manufacturers are doing very, very well and are letting us know that they're looking to grow in the coming year. So to close, a few things that I'd just like you to take away. Shawnee has a very strong, active economic development pipeline. Retail recruitment is being guided by professionals who have relationships with retailers that we can really capitalize on, and we are doing so. And then also, I would like to thank the city staff for being responsive, willing to help, and always joining us in the conversations and coming to the table. Economic development being that team sport, it's very important that we keep that conversation going, and I do thank city staff's efforts in that. And I'd like to wish everyone a happy holiday. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have about any of the things that you've heard.
Any questions for Crystal? Sounds good to me.
Okay,
Thank you, ma'am.
thank you.
Thank you. On item number 6, presentation of Safe Streets for All project, Colin Petcha-Stefanoff, Interim Community Development Director.
Good morning, Mayor, Commissioners. This is a very short, brief presentation on the projects that City stepped into a contract with Department of Public Health, University of Oklahoma, and presenter is supposed to be in person tonight. Unfortunately, she is with high fever, so she sent us a brief video presentation, which we're going to play, and I'm here to address questions if you may have them. Thank you.
My name is Hallie Reeves, and I'm with the University of Oklahoma. We're working with the City of Shawnee to develop a Safe Streets for All action plan. And I'm excited to describe this for you all. I'm sorry that I can't be there in person. I am under the weather with the flu and have a pretty high fever, so I appreciate you bearing with me. So the plan started when the City of Shawnee applied for US DOT funds. We supported that effort and submitted the application in June of 2024. We actually were given notice of award in the fall of 2024, but with all the administration changes at the federal level, we weren't really funded until July of 2025. So we've been working since July of 2025, really the fall of 2025, on this plan. And with that, once the plan is complete and adopted, the city then becomes eligible for funding to improve the issues that are identified in the plan. So there are federal dollars associated with fixing the things that were identified in the Safe Streets for All action plan. So while we knew that the funding was on the horizon, but we didn't know when it was going to come through, at the university, we started working on this project in the spring of 2025 with a transportation planning class. And then over the summer, once the contracts were sort of finalized, we started the plan development, and we launched a website and a survey through that. And then we are incorporating a lot of different data sources from the city and the state and other places, so that we're making sure that we're incorporating lots of information into this work. And then I'd love to quickly run through at the end of this conversation today just what happens next. So as I mentioned, we didn't want to waste time, even though we didn't have the funding yet. So we worked with a transportation planning class to review existing transportation plans that potentially would relate to the Safe Streets for All action plan for Shawnee. And this is sort of the output of that work. There was a lot of exploration of what was included in the plans. And we have a chapter that will be included in the final plan about where existing plans interact with the Safe Streets for All plan. We had, we developed the community engagement plan over the summer to include the website launch and then the survey tool. And we finalized event dates and reserved venues. So we began going to lots of community events. We went to, in total, 5 different community events that were notable. Cops and Kids was a big one. Pedalpalooza was not quite as big, but it was still a wonderful event with folks there all about biking. The Fall Festival was a tremendous event. We saw lots and lots and lots of people. But as far as the number of surveys that were completed during the Fall Festival, it was slightly fewer because everybody was kind of moving really quickly. So a lot of people we talked to, we got a lot of responses, but the number of surveys that were completed were slightly lower than some of the other events. And then we went to the Maybe Gare Museum Mummy Day, which was a wonderful event, but there were a lot of people there who were not from Shawnee. So we talked mainly to folks who live in Shawnee and work in Shawnee to understand what their issues are. And then we spoke at the Shawnee Rotary Club, and we have now wrapped up the survey. We have a lot of responses, and we're in the process of developing the draft safety action plan and trying to get that to you all by February. So lots to do, but that's kind of where we're at. These events, we had both this forum, you can see us here talking to some folks. We had this large map of the city of Shawnee, and we asked folks where in the city of Shawnee there's issues when it comes to safe streets. So where they feel unsafe driving, walking, biking, and where the city might want to know where those issues are. So really interesting. This is an example output of, I believe, the Cops and Kids event. The Mummy Day and the Fall Festival were even more filled out. So really fun to get all of the information and hear the stories about issues with the street. So whether it's someone trying to turn a corner and there's no visibility because there's a big tree there, knowing that and where that is really helpful. So to give you kind of a sense of each event and kind of the number of people that we've engaged, there were 24 locations that were identified at Cops and Kids, around 30 people, and then an additional 40 respondents to the survey. So you can see kind of the survey respondents varied. We had, we also did a couple of social media posts with the city to emphasize that this was going on, and we did get more responses through those events as well. So the website, if you have not seen it, is at safestreetsshawnee.org. The survey is still there, so you can kind of explore it, though we have stopped receiving input at this point because we're starting an analysis. And there's the link to the survey if you're curious. In total, as of right now, we have around 96 surveys completed and 260 locations identified in Shawnee. We are using a criteria to kind of identify where the safe streets priorities need to be, but really trying to take this survey output and use it to provide guidance on where the city may be interested in improving the streets. So that data piece that I mentioned at the beginning, we do have access to crash data and the police data reports of where people speed and have traffic citations. So we're going to incorporate that into the analysis. and then wrap up the Safe Streets Action Plan. So that's kind of the summary of what happens. Again, once we're done with the Safe Streets Action Plan, there's going to be a lot of different items that would be recommended. And so I think thinking about where it's most viable to get roadway improvements is the question at that point. And then kind of moving forward with the application towards implementation. And again, thank you so much for your time. My name is Hallie Reeves. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. My email address is on the bottom of the screen. I really appreciate your time today.
All right. Any questions for Petya on the Safe Streets project? Okay, on to item number 7. Public hearing for a request to rezone the property addressed as 316 North Kimberly Avenue from R1 Low Density Residential District to R3 High Density Residential District. Case number RZ05-25, applicant Ethan Acock Properties LLC. Again, we call on Petya for staff report.
Mayor, Commissioners, this application was presented before the Planning Commission with an interest that they want to develop multifamily housing. And we had a very interesting discussion. I'll jump to the essence of the case. The staff recommended denial because this will consider spot zoning, and I'll elaborate a little bit more on that. The surrounding properties, they're all zone R1, which is single-family dwelling. And according to the current codes that city adopted end of last year, R1 allows for single-family. It will allow for duplex, triplex, fourplex, manufactured home, modular home, tiny home. The last couple categories, they required conditional use permit, which means there are certain conditions that needs to be met, and city commission must vote and approve that. We didn't provide it. We weren't provided with much detailed information what exactly multifamily housing is. And the purpose of R3 is to be a buffer between commercial zone and residential zone. So all surrounding couple of blocks are zoned R1, and Planning Commission, they recommended denial. So I'm happy to address questions from you.
Any questions for Petya?
I have one, but I can wait
Okay.
till item 8.
Sure. Okay. At this time, we'll open the public hearing and ask if there's anybody to speak for this item. Is there anybody here to speak against it? Okay, now we'll close the public hearing. Any discussion amongst us? Okay, move on to item number 8. Consideration of an ordinance to rezone the property addressed as 316 North Kimberly Avenue from R1 Low Density Residential District to R3 High Density Residential District. Case number RZ05-25, applicant Ethan Acock Properties LLC. I'll call on Petya one more time.
As I mentioned about this case, it is in contradiction with the current comprehensive plan that city abides by, and we felt that this will play negative role in the surrounding neighborhood and disturbing the low-density area. So staff again recommends denial.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question regarding reading the correspondence back and forth. If this was presented as a CUP, would staff have recommended approval? Because it looks to me like it needs a CUP instead of a rezone.
Under R1, CUP is required for fourplex, manufactured home, modular home, tiny home. So those are allowed with CUP.
Well,
If there is
right, so
something
is
outside
it-
of that category,
Is it an issue that we don't know what the applicant wants to do?
we've been told,
I mean, I'm looking at the
that.
correspondence. I think I'm wondering if we just have a failure to communicate because,
We, we have a couple of meetings with them, and this is very typical. They don't always share details with us when they complete rezoning application. And keep in mind, even though they tell us what it is, when it is rezoned, there is no obligation for them to stick with the original plan.
no, I understand that. That's why I'm wondering if they're wanting to do a triplex or a fourplex, as the correspondence back to the applicant talks about, would they just need to do would the city have taken a different position if they applied for a CUP rather than a rezone?
Absolutely, yeah. And that, they were informed of that there are other venues rather than just jump. With the planning commission, there were even discussion why they don't go to R2, which is the next,
So I guess
Zone.
my question might be for you, it might be for legal. If we were to, could we defer the item to give them time to, an option to correct it and save the $350 application fee?
No.
Okay.
And they were already.
My opinion on it, that you agree or not, because it would be a different application,
Okay,
we would have to start the process over to give proper notices to the neighbors.
that's fair.
Well, and Petchy, you said that you gave them that option already,
Yeah.
the CUP, and they said no.
they are informed what is allowed under R1. There was discussion among the planning commissioners, why no, just go from R1 to R2, which I cannot speak for the applicant.
Okay, any other discussion for Patchy? Does anybody want to make a motion on item number 8? Okay, we don't have a motion on item 8. Moving on. Item number 9, public hearing for a request to rezone a portion of the property addressed as 3901 North Kickapoo Street from R3 High Density Residential District to C2 Regional Commercial Districts. Case number RZ06-25, applicant Paul Bass and Landy's Engineering. Once again, we'll call on Petcha for staff report.
So, Mayor and Commissioners, this is a little bit different case. Again, when we receive rezoning application, we always compare this, how it is in support or not in support with the comprehensive plan, because that is the guiding legal document that city is allowed to do rezoning of properties. And as you see on the map, north of that property portion is zoned commercial, west is zoned commercial, south is the entire property zoned commercial. And also that portion of the proposed property is facing North Kickapoo, which is one of the major business corridors in this community. So upon looking all the options and all the benefits, staff recommended approval because this will fit the spirit of the comprehensive plan and will enhance future development in that area. We follow the proper procedures to inform all property owner in 300 radius of that address that this rezoning is taking place. So far we received no objections or protests from any of the property owners. Staff recommended approval and the planning commission suggests approval. So I'm here to address questions.
No other questions? Okay, at this time, we'll open the public hearing and ask if there's anyone here to speak for this item.
I can. So Paul Bass, president of the homeowners association for North Creek. Originally, our intention was to try to build all those units back as housing units. When the insurance proceeds paid us, compared to what the cost was gonna be, really wasn't cost prohibitive to do that, without putting the homeowners association at some risk for the need to maybe borrow money, which is not really appropriate for an association of that type. So, we stepped into this world of next highest and best possible use for the property, which became commercial. So, we've hired Landy's to help us with that process. They determined the legal description. They have already developed, maybe you've seen it, maybe it wouldn't be for another meeting, a replat of that. So first step for us to be able to sell it is to get the rezoning approved, and we have a buyer that is interested and has a plan that will be mostly retail in that spot. So that's about all I know to tell you about it.
All right. Thank you, sir. Anybody else here to speak for this item? Anyone here to speak against the item? Okay, at this time, we'll close the public hearing. Item 9. Item number 10, consideration of an ordinance to rezone a portion of property address as 3901 North Kickapoo Street from R3 High Density Residential District to C2 Regional Commercial District, case number RZ06-25, applicant Paul Bass and Landy's Engineering. Once again, we call him Petcha.
Mayor and Commissioners, this property currently it was a church, which doesn't function now as a church. It is in the middle of low
I
density.
think we're on item 10, aren't we?
Sorry.
That's the next one.
Item 10.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're fine. I just jumped the gun.
It's okay. I do it all the time.
Yes. As I mentioned, this rezoning is in the spirit of the comprehensive plan, so it will display no harm to the community.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Any other discussion on this item? Can we get a motion?
Move to approve.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Call on the city attorney to read the ordinance title, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. An ordinance concerning the zoning classification of the following described property located within the corporate limits of the city of Shawnee, Potawatomi County, Oklahoma, to wit, a tract of land being a part of lots 1 through 5 and lots 14 through 23 and common areas, all in Block 1 North Creek Manor, according to the recorded plat thereof, more particularly described as commencing at the southwest corner of the northwest quarter of Section 6, Township 10 North, Range 4 east of the Indian Meridian, Shawnee, Potawatomi County, Oklahoma, thence south 89 degrees 57 minutes 12 seconds east, a distance of 50 feet to the southwest corner of said North Creek Manor, thence north 0 degrees 1 minute 30 seconds east along the west line of said North Creek Manor, a distance of 40 feet to the point of beginning, thence continuing north 0 degrees 1 minute 30 seconds east along said west line, a distance of 335 feet to the northwest corner of said North Creek Manor, thence south 89 degrees 57 minutes 12 seconds east along the north line of said North Creek Manor, a distance of 121.43 feet, thence south 0 degrees 1 minute 30 seconds west and parallel to the west line of said North Creek Manor, a distance of 178 feet, thence south 44 degrees 58 minutes 30 seconds east, a distance of 25.14 feet, thence south 0 degrees 1 minute 30 seconds west and parallel to the west line of said North Creek Manor, a distance of 139.23 feet, thence north 89 degrees 57 minutes 12 seconds west and parallel to the north line of said North Creek Manor, a distance of 139.21 feet to the point of beginning, containing 0.99 acres, more or less, and subject to all recorded easements and rights of way thereof, from zoning classification R3, High Density Residential District, to C2, Regional Commercial District, amending the official zoning map of the city of Shawnee accordingly.
Thank you, sir. Now we will take our vote. Motion carries 6-0. On to item number 11, Public hearing for a request to rezone the property addressed as 1301 East Independence Street from R1 Low Density Residential District to C1 Local Commercial District. Case number RZ07-25, applicant Kenneth and Terry Gober, Aspire Equity Holdings LLC. We'll call on Petcha one more time.
Mayor and Commissioners, this property is in the middle of a low-density residential neighborhood. In the past, it functioned as a church, and to my knowledge, it doesn't function as a church anymore. So according to the comprehensive plan, again, the area, all surrounding area is low-density residential R1 according to the city codes. And rezoning to C1, it will be in complete contradiction with the comprehensive plan. We've been told by the applicant that they want to develop a business by appointment only, which will be open 24/7 for golf simulator. And because the square footage inside is not very big, they told us probably they can fit 3 stations. And the staff have problem with that, not because of the type of business they want to develop, but rezoning from R1 to C1, this is considered spot zoning. And spot zoning typically occur when a landowner wants to use land for use prohibited by the existing zoning, and land is rezoning to a less restrictive zoning classification, such as change from a residential to commercial zoning district. Once this property rezoned to C1, it falls into completely different requirements for parking, landscaping, loading, which staff are concerned about it. So staff, again, we recommend denial, and the city planning commission recommend approval. So I'm here to address questions you may have.
Questions for Petcha on this one? Okay, at this time, we'll open the public hearing and ask if there's anyone here to speak for this item.
I'm Kenneth Gober, and the owner of the property currently. What I heard here is a little differently than we heard at the planning commission meeting and some of the objections. The commission itself addressed all of these issues with R1 around, but within 2 blocks, either direction or either direction, or there are C1 zones. And you may be aware they're on Independence, that a couple blocks east there begins as a quick stop at Center Street. And then the other way, there's Avitas, there's a multi-housing, there's a CPA office, there's an abandoned rest home. And we were looking at that, and this building has been here for a number of years. I was born here, and it's here as long as I can remember as a Church of Christ building. Best I recall, about 2,400 square feet, so it needs to be utilized some way. And we have a contract signed with contingency of a rezoning to C1 with this opportunity to have what I thought was a pretty good thing for the community of young people. Virtual golfing experience that they could enjoy, and thought it might even be something that I'd enjoy, possibly, you know. But we need to do something with the property, and that was a discussion with the planning commission. If we don't do that, what do we do? Do I turn it back into a halfway residential, we tear it down, or leave an abandoned building again in the city of Shawnee? We have plenty of those, as I've observed, and businesses that would seem to be in the interest of the city, and of course I have a biased position. I want to sell the property. If we don't sell it here, then as I'd asked at the planning commission, what do we do? We advocated for the rezoning as I am here because of the concerns of the planners, but the planning commission itself, upon reasonable discussion, came to the same conclusion I have, that it should be rezoned to the C1 and put it and utilize it to a good purpose rather than a struggle with, trying to do something with that property. So I would petition that we, on my part, as I say, have a biased interest as the owner, of course. But as a citizen resident of lifetime in this area, I can see it being a plus too. Thank you. Thank you all very much.
Is there anybody here, anyone else here to speak for this item?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. My name is Sammy Ethisham. I'm a managing member of Aspire Equity Holdings. We're the entity looking to purchase the property. Currently, as Mr. Gober mentioned, it's a church, or used to be a church. It currently doesn't have a full kitchen, doesn't have complete bathrooms, and so being limited to R1, there really just are not a lot of options for that particular building. I've been looking at the opportunity to put in a golf simulator in this facility. At least according to the listing anyway, it lists the property at about 1,600 square feet. It's not a big facility, but it would allow for a couple of bays to go in there. I live in Shawnee. I'm not too far from the location. It'd be convenient for me. I would like for my son to be involved with me and kind of give him an opportunity to get involved in business. We live in Shawnee. We've been in Shawnee for all of our lives. Just looking for an opportunity to create a business here and help support the economy. Happy to answer any questions if anybody has them.
Any questions from Mr. Esteem? Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yep. Oh, sure. EHTISHAM. Yeah, no worries.
Is there anybody else here to speak for this item? Anybody here to speak against this item? Okay, at this time, we'll close the public hearing. Going to item number 12, consideration of an ordinance to rezone the property addressed as 1301 East Independence Street from R1 Low Density Residential District to C1 Local Commercial District. Case number RZ07-25. Applicant Kenneth and Terry Gober, Aspire Equity Holdings, LLC. I'll pet you one more time.
Again, as I mentioned, the property is not functioning as a church, and under R1, there are multiple uses that this building can be repurposed. Some of them are allowed by right, some of them are allowed by conditional use permit. Maybe it's worth mentioning, one of the arguments for this rezoning application was that building may stay vacant for a year or two, or who knows how long. But if people want to do business, there is plenty of vacant buildings in this community. And again, staff recommend denial because this is considered spot zoning, and looking long term, this will bring other issues that may be not visible at this point.
Same question Mr. Matthews had a while ago, the CUP, would it make it available to put that there?
CUP, no. I can tell you, according to the codes, what CUP will allow in R1. It will allow manufactured home, modular home, tiny home. It will allow by right community group home. It will allow bed and breakfast.
Nothing commercial could go in it?
Bed and breakfast, it's allowed by CUP.
Which I see the concern of the city, because once it's C1, you don't have any control of what can go in there.
Exactly, because I wish this business to prosper, but looking long term, this business may come and go, and once it is C1, we cannot regulate within
It's right in the
C1
middle
what
of the
can be
neighborhood.
established.
I think my thing, in respect to staff, but looking long-term, we should want our arterial streets to be commercial. And this is Independence, which is an arterial street through town, and I tend to agree with Mr. Gober. When you look at long-term, there's a Quick Stop, there's a school, there's a Vitas, there's other there's been commercial activity in the area, particularly when we have so I don't, like, we can call it spot zoning, but it really, to me, it's returning or taking it to what it should be or will be in the future as commercial lines are arterial streets. And so, I mean, I'm inclined to support the planning commission's recommendation because particularly where we have a church, like, we're looking at massive expense to convert that into a house. And that's just not gonna be, no developer is gonna do that. So I think we have to kind of look with some degree of common sense and say, this spot needs to be commercial. The frontage of an arterial street, as we're seeing Kickapoo develop, we just passed one similar. Arterial streets are made to be commercial, and then we have a buffer. So I'm inclined to support the planning commission's recommendation. I see all points of view, but when you respectfully, when I look long-term, that's where I see these types of properties trending. Churches that are abandoned, I think, present very unique situations because they typically can't be converted if they were built in R1 back to residential. So I'm inclined to support the item simply because to me, it makes sense and it is forward-looking.
What would the concerns be for future? You said that there could, what potential, if we say yes, rezone to C1, what are we?
The first thing is parking requirements, which are completely different from what is in the residential zoning. So commercial parking requirements are, again, different, and this is one of our concerns, that this will be very challenging. Also,
But can that be,
there will be requirement for, it depends on the business, and I'm talking long-term, not that specific business.
right,
And depends on the business, it may require a loading area, which it's a concern again. It will enhance the traffic in the residential neighborhood.
But I'm looking at the image now. The current parking of it set up as a church much more mirrors commercial parking than it does residential parking. We wouldn't allow a house to have parking this large.
The current situation as a church is a grandfather situation, and it just was there. Upon adopting the new codes, we cannot just remove all grandfather situations.
No, I understand. I'm just, when we talk about the matching the uniqueness or the character of the neighborhood, this current lot fits C1 more than it fits R1. To me. Unless someone has 9 to 12 cars for their 1,600 square foot house.
That would be me.
Yeah, that'd be.
yeah,
Mr. Mayor, we have a property for you.
yeah.
Pretty much, the number of parking spots is determined by the square footage.
Sure.
This is how the codes operates.
But 1,600 foot of commercial is not gonna require 9 parking places.
That's what I was just getting ready to say. What would that be?
I mean, the only
At
change.
1,600 square
The only
feet.
change I could see was that we could require, and this would go through permitting and all that, like the entrance to be off of Independence rather than off a side street.
So, for commercial zoning, we have different setbacks than the residential. And for that particular property, the front setback is 20 feet, the side setback is 15 feet, and the back setback is 5 feet. So 40% of that rectangle that is on the property will be allowed to be buildable. And again, depends on the square footage, different parking requirements are kicking in, loading zone, trash collector is completely different than residential.
I'm looking at all the property owners within the 300-foot circle. Did we get any calls from any of those folks?
We receive some protests on the planning commissions and in the office, several calls.
Why do
does
we
it-
not have those
Yeah,
documented?
it doesn't say on here.
We
any-
always have those documented.
It is on the staff report. on the minutes, let me tell you.
So it's in the planning commission minutes?
We don't have those for this one.
Yeah.
I read that somewhere, I thought.
I see a bullet point on the memo that says no written objections have been submitted to staff.
I'm sorry.
So, but you're saying there were phone calls, not written objections?
Yes.
We document those though, don't we, in some way?
And there were objections on the planning commission meeting. We didn't receive any written objections.
So I guess the question is, if we make it C1, then what kind of hoops they're gonna have to jump through to make that property work? I mean, if you're gonna make the drive off of Independence, then you know what kind of hoops they're gonna have to jump through to make that.
They need to apply, they need to follow the procedure. They need to apply for a permit to make that building compatible for their business. And in order for them to operate, they need to receive certificate of occupancy from the city.
Any other questions for Patty on this item?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion
I'll second.
and a second. Call on city attorney to read the ordinance title, please.
An ordinance concerning the zoning classification of the following described property located within the corporate limits of the city of Shawnee, Potawatomi County, Oklahoma, to wit: Thompson Heights, Block 5, N23.25, Lot 38, and all of Lot 39. Sure, that's not- Yeah, so I want to reread that. Thompson Heights, Block 5, Lot 38, and all of Lot 39. The other is an error. From zoning classification R1, low density residential district, to C1, local commercial district, amending the official zoning map of the city of Shawnee accordingly.
And now we'll call the question. Motion carries 6-0. On item number 13, consider bids, Shawnee's sewer bit bursting fiscal year 26, project number 25-119. Calling Seth Barkheimer for staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you said, this is a bid award for fiscal year 26 sewer bursting. We opened bids on December 8th, 2025. At that bid opening, we had 3 bids. Since then, staff, along with our design consultant, have reviewed the bids. At this time, staff recommends awarding to Jordan Contractors LLC. We recommend awarding the base bid plus alternate number 2 for a total contract amount of $2,094,060. The project is partially funded through ARPA as well as our normal CIP program. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Seth on the sewer bursting project? Or the project number? Okay. Lucky you. We get a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
A motion and a second on item 13. Motion carries 6-0. On item number 14, acknowledge monthly sales tax report. We're going to call on Mr. Mark Simpson, city manager, for staff report.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, thank you. She was sick, so you're stuck with me tonight, sorry. I will read what she has prepared for us. The sales tax report for December totaled $2,565,462.75, which includes $4,099.72 in interest. This revenue is distributed across 8 funds. The receipts in December are from estimated November sales and final sales figures in October. December 25 collections had an 8.11% increase over December of last year. When comparing collections to the conservative budget projections for December, we are 0.13% below projections for the month and 0.72% above collections year to date. Use tax for December totaled $475,733, which is 10.63% above projected collections for the month. When you combine the use tax and the general fund portion of sales tax, the general fund is currently $74,812 above budget projections. Any questions?
Any tax questions for Mark?
Flat.
Hey, I got one for you. Who made our budget predictions there? Because they're just about spot on, and it's crazy how close it is.
Kim was a big part of that. A lot of the
Okay.
staff contributed to that. It's pretty much bullseye at this point, so we won't get cocky.
Understood.
But we're close.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Mark. Okay, in new business, any matter not known of or which could not have been reasonably foreseen prior to the posting of the agenda? Mr. Manager. Okay, Commissioner comments. We'll start with Commissioner
Sure.
Matthews.
Just want to wish everybody Merry Christmas and hope you have a wonderful holiday season. I kicked my holiday season off officially last Monday with Shop with a Cop at Walmart, and what an amazing event. And just to see officers, particularly our city officers out interacting with the public and putting smiles on kids' faces was, I think, really just a big deal. And so many of those children are selected because they've had maybe an adverse experience with law enforcement and their family, and so to see them be so loving and kind, I think was it's a lot of fun every year. It's one of the things I look forward to. The Christmas parade was a huge hit, wonderful event. Just remind everybody, shop local. It's important as we go in this holiday season. Provides jobs and revenue for local businesses, and this is the time of year to make sure we do that. So, Merry Christmas, everybody.
I second the Merry Christmas. 'Tis the season, and it is full of hustle and bustle, and goodness gracious, it's hard to enjoy it with all the things that are going on sometimes, but I do enjoy it because it'll be gone before we know it. But I was delighted to drive down by Winter Wonderland on Saturday night. I thought nobody's gonna be down there. It's so cold outside. It's miserable. Sure enough, it was full of people, and that made me very happy to see that. And just remember that people in the service industry, it's a very busy, hectic time of year. You know, be nice to our service people. And I, again, second what Daniel said, please shop local. It really does make a difference. If there's something that you can buy at a local store as opposed to getting it on Amazon or, you know, a big box retailer, we support your locals first and then go big if you can. But Merry Christmas.
I also say Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. We'll see most of y'all next year. I'm gonna say I appreciate Crystal coming and giving the presentation for the econ development and Shawnee Forward. I also wanted to say that while I was disappointed that they weren't here for Safe Streets, I was still glad that we got to see a presentation of what there's been a lot of work going into that. So we're very excited about Main Street. You know, I live down here, so I get to walk a lot, and it's just neat. Our buildings all have lights on them, and if somebody hasn't come downtown yet, you know, you need to come downtown before the new year. So that's it for me.
I'd like to say also Merry Christmas to everybody and say a shout out to Seth for putting on the Christmas parade. I got to drive one of my jalopies down in the parade and throw candy to all these crazy little kids running everywhere, and they were all smiling and hooping and hollering and having a great time, even though it was kind of cold. But they did a really good job, and also for staff. I mean, PD was down there, Parks and Rec. We had a whole lot of volunteers going every which way. Fire department was there until they had to go take care of a fire. So that just shows you, you never know what's going to happen when. And also, Winter Wonderland, last 2 days are Friday and Saturday. I think the weather's going to be great. I guess there's some kind of game or something on Friday, I don't know, but I mean, it's still gonna be open, so you can, we'd love to have y'all come down. If not Friday, then Saturday. I think the weather's gonna be really good, and it's a really neat, whole setup down there. And it's fun for kids for sure, and even adults might have a hoot doing it. And, just wanna thank staff for everything they've put forth this whole year, and that's it. Merry Christmas.
My turn, I guess. Same sentiment, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And, economic development going on is pretty neat, you know, just from the standpoint of all the stuff that's in the works. Budget-wise, I mean, we're dead on, which is pretty amazing, but we're only 6 months in. So we'll see. Hopefully everybody will shop in Shawnee and we'll have a really good report in January. A lot going on. The Christmas parade was a hit. I know my daughter had involved in the Shawnee Public School part of it, so I appreciate the staff and appreciate I think the police department, they moved a batting cage from one facility to the other, and they kind of got a little help from the police department to do that instead of getting a wide load permit. So I appreciate what everybody does.
Yes, sir.
Y'all pretty much said it all. Yeah, that's all. It's the benefit and the downside of going last. I will add to the Safe Streets survey. It was kind of discouraging to see the low number of respondents, but I double checked it today that it's still live and active. It's not hard to put an entry in the survey online. I've done 3 now for pretty much the 100 square foot area around my house, which if you don't know where I live, it's public information, but I'll go ahead and say it's the intersection of Leo and MacArthur, just west of the airport tunnel. And I think it's a benefit that people put into that survey so that they can have a well-developed plan, but also, like, I frequent that area multiple times a day because that's my intersection where I live, so I and the residents around me know it best. And I think that the information that we can provide is crucial for that plan. My head is kind of, you know, turning ideas of what could be, you know, improved in that area. And I know that, like, I don't know those parts of Shawnee for other places. I don't know what could be best done for other places of Shawnee because I don't travel them every single day. I walk that area, I drive that area. And so I encourage people to get on the website and take that survey. I think it was 3 steps, and one of them was a demographic step. So really, you're just going in, saying that there's an issue. It's got a lot of options for how it can be fixed or what's wrong with it. So you're not really having to come up with like brand new information of unless you want to. There is another option. You can do just about any place in Shawnee. You can click anywhere on the map it provides, and you can submit multiple proposals at once. I did notice that feature. You don't have to go in one at a time and do one proposal each time. You can put, I think I clicked 5 at one point just to see how high it would go up. And you can submit 5 at once. So I encourage people to do that. You guys too, in your areas.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. City Attorney, do you have any information for us on items 17 and 18?
Would you mind, Mr. Mayor, reading item 17?
Yes, sir.
And I'll update you.
Consider an executive session in accordance with 25 Oklahoma Statute 307B4 to discuss confidential communications between a public body and its attorney concerning a pending investigation, claim, or action if the public body, with the advice of its attorney, determines that disclosure will seriously impair the ability of the public body to process the claim or conduct a pending investigation, litigation, or proceeding in the public interest, specifically regarding Pottawatomie County case number CJ-2023-468 relating to the Fairview Mausoleum.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor,
Sir.
Commissioners. At the time of publication of the agenda, we anticipated having additional information that we wish to discuss in the executive session format with regard to this matter. Unfortunately, that information is not yet here, and so at this point, we have nothing to share. We're recommending no action on this item. However, as soon as we do have that information, we will be calling for another executive session to disclose that information to the commission. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
No questions on 17? So we don't need to read 18 either then, do we?
If there's no motion to go
Okay.
into executive session, there's no action, therefore
Right.
18 will be rendered moot.
Okay, so with that, we're adjourned. The council meeting will process over to the Shawnee Airport Authority, and was speaking with city clerk before the meeting. We don't have to log in or out. She'll take the verbal,
Okay, good.
since we're having so many issues, technical issues. So item number 1, consider approval of consent agenda. Can I
Move
get a
to approve.
motion?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second on item 1. Daniel and Chris. Daniel. Motion, Chris second. Is that all right?
That's correct.
Aye.
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 Okay. Item number 2, discussion and consideration of a request for a commercial aeronautical lease agreement with Redeemed Flying Corps Association, RFCA. We'll call on Bonnie Wilson, Airport Manager, for staff report.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. I'm here again with good news. I'm happy to tell you that one of our long-term business partners and tenants, Redeemed Flying Corps Association, has requested an opportunity to expand. They have been operating a flight instruction program, sort of an in-house program for students who go on mission trips to learn to fly to mission locations and to do a little bit of minor maintenance on their aircraft should they need it once they get there. They have been able to expand this program and the support that they have from the Oklahoma Baptist University to the degree now that they would like to offer this service not only within their own group, but also to the general public, anyone who wishes to have flight instruction, which the airport could sorely use because we get requests for it all the time, and we do not currently have a service available to accommodate those desires. In addition to that, that will also allow them to expand even further with the Oklahoma Baptist University. Right now, there are credits offered. OBU is planning on developing an entire program, both in their mission side and also in their global economic side, that requires pilot licensure. And so as we move forward in partnership with the Redeemed Flying Corps and the OBU, we'll be able to offer, again, to the public, but also to the members of the mission group and also to the students of OBU. That is, if this proposal is accepted as recommended, right now they're leasing space for 2 small aircraft with us, and as they grow, we hope to grow with them. So the draft lease is a change from their current just aircraft storage lease to then authorize them to provide this commercial service in the same space. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have related to the proposal, the plan, the lease.
Question for Bonnie?
Move to approve.
Thank you so much.
A motion and a second. Aye.
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 Okay, item number 3, any new business, Mr. City Manager? No, sir. Okay. We'll adjourn from the Airport Authority and go to the Shawnee Municipal Authority. Item number 1, consider approval of consent agenda.
Move to approve.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. Aye.
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 Item number 1 carries 6-0. Any new business, Mr. City Manager? Item number 2. No, sir. All right, with that, we are adjourned.